Hello everyone, I'm Wayward and this is Grey Goo. I have for you today another 1 versus 1, this time on a community created map called World Tree, thanks to this. Today our match is between the blue Shroud, played by PLA2N.Tommygun or Tommygun, and the white or silver humans as played by Refbot. I would tell you who the community member is that made the map, but I unfortunately don't remember off the top of my head. I will put that in the description of the video. As is pretty standard for Grey Goo matches, things tend to get started a little slowly, so I've skipped the first couple minutes, so let's get up to speed. Both players have opted for a pretty heavy early economy. We have extractors, several extractors on the map in various hidden locations. And it is only recently that Tommygun has started mass-producing advents and clashers. I think it's just clashers so far. Refbot so far has yet to produce anything. It looks like he's gone for, I've never actually seen this before, is 4 large factories. And it looks like we have anti-air. He's expecting someone to mess with him. The Shroud have some pretty strong air units, and I think that Refbot is preparing for that. And let's see, we have air attachment and tank attachment. This is actually a ton of clashers before Refbot has anything. Let's see how he responds. This is actually really bad for Refbot. It looks like he's got some anti-heavy sentinels going down, but it's going to be hard to get them out. He's filling a ton of resources, but it's going to be hard to make anything happen. So he's got just anti-air. Another sentinel coming down, but it's going to be almost impossible to have this thing be built. Although, fortunately, these factories do finish in the nick of time. If Refbot was smart, he would be attacking these conduits to just shut down all this production. I'm sorry, this is Tommygun. If Tommygun was smart, he would stop Refbot from producing anything. He could just shut all this production down entirely with cutting out any one of these conduit crosses. We have some tridents coming out. I think this is going to get shut down thanks to Tommygun's mismanagement of the situation. These conduit crosses are really vulnerable, and he could have shut everything down. It was really bad of him that he didn't. Let's see. I think he's not committing too heavily to that. You see that we have a huge clasher force down here, while Refbot is barely managing to hold on with these tridents coming out en masse. That should have lost the game, honestly, for Refbot. If Tommygun had thought at all, that would have just completely ended it for Refbot. Those conduits would have gone down, all these factories would have turned off, he would have been producing out of a single factory, and that would have been the end. Luckily for him, Tommygun did make a critical error. Really quick, let's look at the economy. So the Shroud player is a bit ahead, is 15,000, almost 16,000 to just under 15. Looking at the structures, 6 refinery to 7 extractor, so that's just going to keep increasing if Refbot doesn't get a move on. We see a Mimic up here scouting what's going on, but not too much for Refbot at the moment. He's just kind of sitting there, working on his production, working on getting these attachments out to be able to produce what he wants. Similarly, Tommygun down here is still on clasher production. He's got crucibles, so he can produce tier 2 units. It looks like he's getting klaxons. He's got a couple out right here already. And across the map they go. I think Refbot's going to be mostly okay. He's got a decent army. He's got more production coming out, so this shouldn't be too much trouble. Well, it's a formidable force, but I think he can hold it. Tommygun knows what's going on thanks to... Come on, Refbot, you see, it's right there. Well. But yeah, see, we switched over to the Gladius tank. It's an anti-armor vehicle. Actually, these tridents are anti-armor as well. I'm sorry, revolvers. I am just getting everything wrong today. And we have our first batch of howitzers coming out. So a really good defensive force. I think, yeah, our Shroud player definitely has an advantage in sheer numbers. But it looks like with the revolvers and the Gladius, it's going to be basically tailored to taking out this force here. although I guess we'll get to see in just a second. It looks like he may be hoping to take out some additional economy. Good on you, Refbot, for getting an additional... Nope, that is not Refbot's extractor. That is Tommygun's. So on top of this assault, we have additional economic damage going down. And Refbot is just holding up in his base, trying to produce more. We have another factory going down. And 1, 2, 3, I can just count them here. 8 refineries, so he has continued to expand his production. Good for him. Quick. Okay. Yep, more economic damage from the Shroud player. Very well done. So Tommygun has researched the channeled build-up upgrade, which allows the Howler's range and AoE radius to increase. He's only got a couple of Howlers right now, but it can be useful to deal area of effect damage. Not very many units in this game do that, and the ones that do tend to have a pretty big impact on combat. So even if this army gets cleaned up, it looks like the minimap, we have a second one coming out, and I just mentioned Howlers, and here they are. This is a nasty little force. They're very fragile, but with that increased AoE and damage, this is going to be really nasty. This army is getting cleaned up. Those Klaxons didn't seem to do much of anything, thanks to the anti-armor units that this army is composed of. Refbot possibly getting an extractor kill. Yeah, that's not going to last very long. And I don't think this army... Man, those Howlers are nasty. Took a huge chunk out of Refbot's army. And that human force is getting cleaned up, although that extractor kill was decent. You can see right now that Tommygun's army is, or income is, just out of control. Just a huge amount of resources. He's probably going to have to build additional buildings to be able to even spend it all. Meanwhile, this Mimic is just making the most of itself. Definitely paying for itself there. Getting basically full vision of Refbot's base. He's not paying any attention. Refbot continues to improve his economy. Good job there. It's a kind of a vulnerable base layout and a lot of space here that could just shut everything down. I guess these large factories are pretty efficient. I don't see players doing it very often, since large factories cost a lot more than the smaller factories. A bit of a lull as both players try to build up again. Switching back over to the Units tab. It's actually more even than I was afraid it was going to be. But right now, Tommygun just has run of the map. He's got all of these Howlers with their AoE, taking his opponent's economy out, slowing that rate of growth down. Interestingly, Refbot seems to be moving his units into a position where he's going to leave his base vulnerable. Okay, good job. Yeah, bring this back down there, Refbot. It's expanding over here. Let's see what happens. Oh, nasty howitzer hits right on the bulk of that army, taking the whole thing out with actually not much lost. And now the tides have actually turned, with the human army being larger. So Refbot is playing patiently and carefully, which I guess is the hallmark of good human play in Grey Go. Nasty engage with all of those Klaxons, but Gladius are pretty good against them, and those Klaxon charges are either used up or they're too close, or both. Getting some nasty damage, but not nearly enough. Tommygun's army has been shredded now. Let's see, he has a Zenith out, and he's got it amplified, actually 2 Zeniths to match his 3 Crucibles. So he's doing well. I think he probably could do with 1 or 2 more. Oh, we have some Advents up here, though. Let's see, he's mixed a Fugue into the mix. If a unit dies under the effects of a Fugue's attack, it turns into a temporary unit under the control of the Goo player, or the Shroud player. I keep calling them Goos today. This is not nearly large enough an army to deal with what Refbot's doing here. Tommygun is not making the best choice, I think. That human army is going to crush this. Really good damage done against Refbot's army, actually. But, yeah, he realizes his mistake and tries to run away. And there it all goes. Ouch. Oh, we actually have some longbows out. I don't see them very often. They're kind of hard to get for how useful they can be. And it looks like we have some more tech, Harvester Camouflage, and Sacrificial Charge. It looks like he might be playing using Coda, which would be interesting. I have to admit, I thought this game would be a little more one-sided than it seems to have ended up being. Our Shroud player has a lot of resources, but the human army just keeps crushing them over and over again. In fact, look at the unit tab, and again, we see actually it's more even than I thought it would be. I said that the second time today. Oh, this Mimic just... Man, that is a hero Mimic. We seem to be sticking for now with a massed army of Gladius and Howitzers with just a couple of longbows mixed in. If he expects his opponent to go air, I would expect a couple more longbows than this. What does he have? 4? Not very many. It says 11, but some of those could be in production. I don't see very many out right now. Oh, there's a couple there. Longbow is actually one of my favorite models. It's just a really nice, really well done. Okay, we have another army coming out, this one with a lot more fugues. I've said this in previous matches I've cast, but going with tons of fugues never seems to go very well for the Shroud player. I think he might want to gather up his army before he heads out. Seems like a pretty small force. I think he's just trying to do economic damage, but we have another extractor kill, it looks like. Another extractor kill here, but that doesn't really do anything to the human player. They come for free. Very different from a Shroud taking an extractor kill. Oh, this is going to be brutal. I have pincher attack on this force. And most of the human force gets eaten, I think, thanks to the Howlers and the Klaxons. Who's doing a bit? Oh, this newly built extractor may be going down. That's a shame. Decent damage to the human player, but much worse for the Shroud player. Another extractor coming up. He's got tons of resources, so he doesn't really have to worry in the short term, but those extractor losses in the long term might be really bad for Tommygun. Looks like we are mining up the brush. See this mine's going down. I think they have a timed life, but I think he might have thought that there were some units in there. Tommygun doesn't have something happen that's going to be very, very bad for him. He has a very small army at this point. Although it looks like he's producing a Dirge. That could be interesting. The Dirge is the Shroud's epic unit. Now, if that comes out, that might be enough to help, but otherwise his army is far smaller than Refbot's. Look at that. We have, what, 3 separate human armies at this point? Any one of them bigger than what the Shroud is fielding at the moment. I think he's really lost track of his production, has Tommygun. It's just that nothing ever came out to counter the humans' composition. Klaxons are pretty good. I mean, the Shroud's units have all been pretty good, but too little too late with those air units. Refbot already thought that they were coming and got one good hit in. Refbot's reproducing units as fast as Tommygun can make them, so there's not much that we can expect unless this Dirge comes out really soon and makes something happen. Where is the Dirge? I can't even find it. Is it? Yeah, he's trying to power it up over here. I didn't even notice it. I thought it was an extractor. It's got to come out. I don't think there's anything really he can do unless this Dirge manages to power itself up, and these air units aren't even really doing anything. Advent's going down. Oh, here we go. Dirge has reached level 2 and can now power itself up by destroying enemy units. Let's see if this is enough. It seems to be dealing some pretty devastating damage to human units. Let's see. Pretty strong. That's now being focused down by the Gladius, though. It seems to be in a pretty good shape. I've actually never seen a Dirge used before, so this will be interesting for me. Look at the Gladius. I've never actually seen a Dirge used. I know it's the only epic unit that has a 3-staged evolution. When it starts out, you saw it was pretty small and weak, and he was able to power it up by draining resources. And now it can be powered up by killing units. It actually looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Still, let's take a look at our resources. It's actually in favor of the Shroud, but he's been trading pretty badly. Refbot's pulling back, trying to keep himself safe. If he can pick off this Dirge through the size of his superior army, he's pulling his whole army back to protect his base. He'll be fine. Looks like the Dirge is still affected by brush at tier 2. I think at tier 3 it's too large to be affected by brush. He needs to not kill units in one hit. He's going to have to be really careful that he targets this thing. Have an Echo. Just the one so far, in combat anyway. They produce this little invincible dog thing that attacks anything in that radius. It's a pretty cool take on an artillery unit, I think. Still, it looks like, for whatever reason, Tommygun has basically no unit production going on at this point, or very little. I guess his units just take a long time. Yeah, this Zenith isn't doing anything. 2 empty Zeniths. It's slowly starting to produce some additional units. Sirens? Aren't those anti-air? Seems weird. It's been a while since we've checked on the tech, but we have a battle going down. Dirge is trying to get away, so it's not focused down by the human units. I'm not sure it's fast enough to escape. Let's see, we have the human units auto-repairing, we have visible harvesters. This army might just be enough to save the Dirge. It's still pretty strong. It's very close to being eligible for its tier 3 form. I love these bursts of energy whenever it kills something. Man, those units came out just in time. Oh no, Refbot, what happened? He's maxed out on resources. Is he not producing revolvers? Gladius? Nothing coming out of this factory. This one's paused. This one's Gladius. Wow. Refbot GG's out. I don't know what happened. Let's take a quick look. Maybe extractors? I'm not entirely sure when it was that he lost this. His army went down here because it was focused on the Dirge. It was still a decent way away from hitting its third evolution. I'm not entirely sure where things went wrong. I mean, Refbot could have had a little bit more production, but I don't know why his army production stopped like that. Weird. Very interesting. Well turned around by Tommygun. You actually don't see a lot of turnarounds like that in Grey Goo. Usually, once one person loses their army decisively, it's really hard to get everything built back up. But yeah, I was surprised. I saw the Dirge come out, and that was kind of a Hail Mary, and I expected the humans to win anyway, just because Refbot had played so solidly. So really well done. Good game.